In the grand story of the Bible, we meet people who inspire us with their strong faith, bravery, and determination. One such person is Caleb, whose remarkable tale unfolds in the book of Joshua. Part 1. Caleb's adventure begins in the wilderness when he is chosen as one of 12 spies by Moses. Their mission? To explore the Promised Land, a land flowing with milk and honey, given by God to Abraham's descendants. This task is no ordinary job to be done. It's a pivotal moment in Israel's history, showing them what lies ahead, a land filled with blessings and challenges. Representing the tribe of Judah, Caleb joins 11 others as they journey into Canaan, carefully examining its cities, landscapes, and people. Their discoveries will shape the destiny of the Israelites. When they return with their report, there's a division among them. 10 of the spies bring back a fearful message, describing towering giants, strong fortresses, and seemingly insurmountable obstacles. Their words fill the Israelites with fear and doubt, making them question their ability to claim the land God promised them. But amidst this doubt, Caleb stands out. Unlike the majority, his report is brimming with unwavering confidence and trust. He boldly declares, "We should go up and take possession of the land, for we can certainly do it." His words echo a strong belief in God's promise and an unyielding determination to see it through. Caleb's faith shines as a beacon of hope in uncertain times. Yet, his faith is tested. The Israelites, influenced by fear and the majority's negativity, lean toward resistance. The consequence is harsh. God decrees that the doubting generation will wander in the wilderness for 40 years. They'll have to wait until a new generation, free from doubt, emerges to inherit the land. But Caleb is different. Undeterred by the consequences, he spends 40 years in the wilderness, patiently waiting for the day when he can return to the land he believes is meant to be his. His faith remains strong, and his vision unwavering. Finally, at the age of 85, Caleb approaches Joshua, now the leader of the Israelites. He remembers the promise God made to him through Moses and boldly asks for the land he explored 4 decades ago, Hebron. Caleb firmly says, "Now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day." His request is granted, and Caleb leads the charge to conquer Hebron, driving out its inhabitants, and securing the land as his own. His unwavering faith has led to the fulfillment of God's promise. Part 2. We were like grasshoppers in our own sight, and we would have been like that in their sight. Numbers chapter 13 verse 33. This was spoken by the 10 spies among 12 spies who were sent by Moses to explore the land of Canaan in the Bible. They reported back to the Israelites about the strength and size of the people living there, expressing their own fear and feelings of insignificance compared to the inhabitants of Canaan. They returned with a report that included a visual representation of the produce of the land. They mentioned fruits' size and their massiveness. Here's an illustration of what the spies delivered. Among the various fruits and produce they had gathered during their reconnaissance mission, there were clusters of grapes that were unlike anything they had ever seen. These grapes were not ordinary, they were extraordinarily large and abundant. Each cluster was so massive that it required 2 men to carry it on a wooden pole. The grapes were so large that they symbolized the land's fertility and abundance. They were a tangible representation of the promise of a land flowing with milk and honey. The sight of these colossal grapes left a lasting impression on the Israelites. It was a visual testament to the land's richness and the fulfillment of God's promise. However, despite this tangible evidence of the land's abundance, the majority of the spies chose to focus on the challenges and the formidable inhabitants of Canaan, leading to a lack of faith and a fearful report. When the Israelites heard the negative reports from the 10 spies who had explored Canaan, their reaction was one of fear, complaint, and rebellion. They were filled with anxiety and lost faith in God's promise to give them the land. Their complaints included expressing a desire to return to Egypt, where they had been slaves, rather than face the challenges of entering and conquering Canaan. God's response to the Israelites' lack of faith and complaints was severe. He was angered by their rebellion and unbelief. As a result, God decreed that the first generation of Israelites who had been delivered out of Egypt would not enter the Promised Land. Instead, they were sentenced to wander in the wilderness for 40 years until that entire generation had passed away. During this time, they would not be allowed to enter Canaan. Except for Caleb and Joshua, the two spies who had shown faith in God's ability to deliver the land into their hands. Part 3. Now give me this hill country that the Lord promised me that day. Joshua chapter 14 verse 12. In the time when Caleb approached Joshua with his request for the hill country, the Israelites' conquest of the Promised Land was still ongoing, and the territory had not yet been fully taken. The situation can be described as follows. At the time when Caleb made his bold request to Joshua, the Israelites had made significant progress in their conquest of the Promised Land. They had successfully captured several key regions and cities. But there was still much work to be done. The land was not yet fully under their control, and there were Canaanite strongholds scattered throughout the territory. The map of their progress showed conquered areas, but also pockets of resistance that remained. Caleb's request for the hill country was a testament to his unwavering faith and determination, even in the midst of an ongoing campaign. He knew that the promise of this land was part of God's plan, and he was ready to lead the charge to secure it. The situation was one of both hope and challenge. As the Israelites pressed forward in their mission to claim the entirety of the land that had been pledged to them by God. Part 4. Caleb, who overcame the sadness of number 2 in his life after Joshua. Joshua succeeded Moses as leader of the people, but Caleb supported Joshua as second in command for more than 40 years. Caleb's exceptional character and virtues, which prevented him from succumbing to frustration, jealousy, or bitterness despite his circumstances, can be attributed to several key qualities. Unwavering faith. Caleb's foremost attribute was his unwavering faith in God's promises. He believed in the divine plan and trusted that God would lead the Israelites according to his will. This deep-seated faith anchored him, allowing him to accept Joshua's leadership with grace. Humility. Caleb possessed a humble spirit. He understood that leadership roles and decisions were not within his control. Instead of seeking his own glory or position, he deferred to God's guidance and respected the leadership appointed by God. Positive perspective. Caleb maintained a positive perspective throughout his life. Instead of dwelling on the difficulties or delays, he chose to see the opportunities and blessings that lay ahead. These qualities set Caleb apart and made him a truly admirable figure in biblical history. His ability to embrace God's plan, practice humility, remain content, exhibit patience, express gratitude, stay focused on God's will, and maintain a positive perspective all contributed to his exceptional character and virtuous nature. Caleb's story continues to inspire and serve as a model of faith and character for generations to come. Thank you so much for watching. Your subscriptions and shares fuel our channel's growth, and if there's a biblical character you'd like to know more about, please leave a comment.